Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Mass Retirees Weekly Update. Today's Friday, December 10th. I'm Sean Duhamel. Thank you so much for joining with us again this week. As promised, we're going to have a bit of a preview of our January 2022. I know it's a lot to get out there, even to think about that we're now talking about January of 2022. I don't know where the time goes, and I say that all the time, but you blink, you miss it. But we are now going into January. Our January voice is at the printers. We want to give you a sneak preview of what you can look forward to reading about and learning from the materials that we've published. Joining me on our weekly video today is our General Counsel, Bill Reary, and our Legislative Liaison, Nancy McGovern. Bill and Nancy do more than half of the content creation and the writing for each edition of the newsletter. So I'm going to let them talk a little bit about the articles that they worked on for this specific edition, some of the things that we're focused on, and what we plan on really highlighting going into 2022 and what you can expect really over the next 6 months. To kick things off, or before we kick things off with that, I just want to spend just a quick moment on behalf of all of us here at Mass Retirees, and in particular, our association president, Frank Valeri. I just want to say thank you to those members who have very promptly renewed their membership with us for 2022. As we've said over the last month or so, November kicks off our traditional dues renewal period for the coming year. About half of our membership renews every November, with renewals staggered throughout the year, depending on when you became a member of Mass Retirees. So if you haven't received anything in the mail from us yet, it's most likely because your anniversary date has not come up yet. And at the point in time in the future, when your anniversary does come up, we will then send you the letter. So you'll be notified that the time has come to renew your dues. But about half of our members renew every November. The response has been tremendous. In addition to renewing your membership this year, we also had a little bit of a voluntary call to action, so to speak, for those of you who are willing and able to donate a little bit extra toward the administrative expenses here at the association. We try to keep our dues as low as we can. For new members, our dues are $38 a year. For our long-term legacy members, as we call you, the dues are $36 a year. And we try to keep those costs as low as we can. We know particularly our older retirees are living on very modest pensions, on very fixed means, and we don't want to overburden anyone with the cost of a membership with our association. However, every year our costs go up. I don't need to really explain that. I think it's obvious to everybody, whether it's the rent or health insurance premiums or keeping the lights on. There's a cost to running this association. So I can't thank you enough for the overwhelming generosity and support that many of you are showing us. It means a lot to all of us. I just want to say thank you. And if you have not yet mailed in your membership renewal, I hope you'll do so. I hope that you see value in being a Mass Retirees member and receiving these weekly updates from us and receiving our newsletter and knowing that we're here to help you if that time arises, whether it's a question you have or a problem with your health insurance. We're here to help you. And the last thing in terms of the dues renewal, once you do renew your dues with us for 2022, you're going to receive your 2022 membership card. And in addition to having our personal contact information, that if you need to call me, for instance, my cell phone number is on your membership card, Frank Valeri's home phone number, Bill Reary's home phone number, Nancy McGovern's home phone number. You can reach all of us off hours at our personal contact information. But there are also two additional numbers on the card. One is our toll-free recorded news hotline that we update each and every Friday with whatever's happening that week. The other telephone number that we're publishing is the toll-free number to participate in our teletown hall events. That's very important. Those two numbers never change. They're always the same. So if we're holding a teletown hall, all you need to do is look at your membership card. That toll-free number is right there for you to call in. Now, speaking of town hall events, we have two upcoming teletown hall events that we are publishing that information right on page 3 of the newsletter. The first one will be on January 14th, right after the first of the year. That will focus on the cost of living adjustment and all of the work that is now taking place at the state level, as well as at local level, in terms of improving the COLA. The second teletown hall will be about a month later on February 11th, Friday, February 11th. All of these meetings, by the way, take place at 1 p.m. The February 11th teletown hall will focus exclusively on retiree healthcare benefits. And we've timed that meeting to occur the day after the state's Group Insurance Commission is meeting on February 10th. They will be establishing the plan design process or plan design for the benefits for the upcoming fiscal year for all of the state retirees and the municipal retirees that participate in the GIC. And as we've continued to remind everybody, the policies that are implemented at the state level can very quickly become local policy as well. So what happens with the GIC is important to all retirees, regardless of where you get your health insurance. Now, I'm going to kick it over to Bill Reary right now to talk a little bit about where we're at with the newsletter, when you can expect to receive it in the mail, and then the three of us are going to walk through in some detail of what we've published this time around. Bill?
Well, thank you, Sean. Yes, as pointed out already, the January 2022 issue of The Voice is at the printers right now. And the development and final version of that 2022 newsletter, it's really it's a team effort in the office. Yes, myself and Nancy and Sean are major contributors to the writing, but that's only part of it. So everyone in the office does their bit. But in addition to the team in the office, we do have some major outside contributors to The Voice. And that includes a family-owned Massachusetts business that is actually a union shop, Standard Modern, who does the printing and the mailing of each bulletin. In fact, we're in touch with Standard right now in connection with the mailing of the January bulletin. As it stands right now, it will be in the mail the week of December 20th. We'd like to see it out earlier than that. So we're in touch with Standard, and they've always been there for us. They've always been responsive. So we're getting a hold of them to see whether or not we can get it out the end of the week before the Friday, December 17th. So hopefully you'll all have before the holidays. Now, I said there were two, and the other one is Chameleon Design Group. And the Chameleon's been with us for a long time, and they've always been responsive too, because what they do is that they help us design and lay out the bulletin. They provide valuable service in that regard. And listen, they're the people that work for Chameleon. If we contact them at 6 o'clock in the evening, they'll do whatever they have to get something done to us and back to us that night. And they're always there for us. So it's important to understand that when we're doing a bulletin, there's a lot of people involved. And that includes not only the people in the office, but it also includes outside help. Now, I just mentioned that we have the January bulletin at the printers. We're already at work on the March bulletin. As you know, the bulletins go out every other month. There's 6 bulletins per year. And now that we have the January one at the printers, we're already at work on the March bulletin. And in that regard, we already have stories in the box ready for the March bulletin. But, there's still a lot of space in the March bulletin at this point. And we're always looking for new ideas, and so I would hope our listeners and viewers out there would, in fact, if they have anything that they would like to see in the bulletin, please, get a hold of us and let us know. We're always striving, to make the bulletin better. We want to give you the best product possible. So again, if you have any ideas, any suggestions in terms of the bulletin, please get a hold of us and we'll take a look at it. And at this time now, I'm going to turn it back over to Sean. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Bill. And as Bill said, we want to make sure that we're getting you the most up-to-date factual information, that we can. But at the same time, we also want to be reporting on topics that are of interest to you. So if there's something that, as Bill said, that you could suggest that maybe we should be focused more on, or give a little bit more of an in-depth explanation, or something happening at the local level that's related to retirement that we may have missed, reach out to one of us. We'll take a look at it and we'll see what we can do. The only caveat to this, of course, is we want to make sure that we're publishing, some information that's somewhat unique to public retirees, general retirement advice and the types of stories sometimes that would appear in, the AARP publications that are more of a general nature. You can find that information really anywhere. We really want to focus on aspects of your retirement that are unique to you as a public retiree. And that's really been something that we've been focused on for as long as I've been here, which is a long time at this point. But also, before Bill and Nancy talk about some of the specifics that are in the newsletter, I just want to point out a couple of the main themes that we're focused on. Now, the front page of our newsletter, and here's kind of a rough draft of it. It's changed a little bit over the last few weeks as we're fine-tuning this going to press. But the main focus of this newsletter, once again, for the third consecutive edition, starting with September and then November, now January, our main focus going into 2022 here in Massachusetts is making improvements to the cost of living adjustment. And there are three things that we're focused on right now with the COLA. One is allowing the cities and towns the ability and the authority to pay a full 5.9% CPI COLA for FY23. Now, FY23, of course, is the fiscal year. It begins on July 1st. COLAs that are paid through our public retirement systems work on a fiscal year basis, not the calendar year like Social Security, but on the fiscal year basis. It's the same calendar that the local governments and the state government operate on. We want to make sure that the 102 local retirement systems have the ability to pay the full 5.9% CPI COLA. And we need special legislation to allow the cities and towns to be able to implement this. And that's something that we're working on right now. The local retirement systems already have the ability to increase the COLA base beyond the $12,000 floor that was established back in 1997. Most of the retirement systems have already increased their base beyond $12,000. 20 or so systems up until now have, for various reasons, chosen not to. And we're hopeful that not only those systems will go beyond $12,000, which would really be a big step forward, but also the other retirement systems who have been able to advance their COLA base over the last 20 or 23 years, due to the historical asset gains that all of our retirement systems have seen, not just in recent years, but really over the life of the existence of these retirement funds. As we have been publishing, all of that factual information that we sent to you in September and again in November makes the case as to why the local retirement systems, as well as the state and teachers systems, are well poised from a financial standpoint to be able to make improvements to the COLA base without endangering the pension funding schedules or overly burdening local appropriations into the retirement system. All of that information is there for our local officials to run with and our local members to be able to run with. But at the state level, for the state and teacher system, that COLA base is set by the state legislature. We are now working with the Joint Committee on Public Service and their co-chairman, Representative Ken Gordon from Bedford and Senator Mike Brady from the city of Brockton. Our COLA legislation is now pending before the Public Service Committee. We're hoping that that legislation will soon be reported out favorably. Most likely, the next destination will be the House Committee on Ways and Means, which is chaired by State Representative Aaron Michowitz from here in Boston. We are working with the legislature to increase the COLA base for state and teacher retirees. Our goal is to get it to a $16,000 base over the next year or so. And we're going to be working on that in addition to the legislature appropriating the full 5.9% CPI for FY23. So at the state level, for the state and teacher systems, both of those things go hand in hand, and we're going to be heavily focused on that issue going forward. And the third component to all of this, of course, as we're reporting in the newsletter, is the so-called enhanced or senior COLA, to provide an additional benefit for those of you who have been retired for at least 15 years and who were career public employees. We believe that the time is now to provide a little bit of an additional benefit to help you catch up a little bit. So all of that is detailed in the January newsletter. In addition, our big national focus, of course, remains either the full repeal of the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset, or the reform of the WEP. Now, our ultimate goal is and always has been a full repeal of both of these laws. However, as we have been saying now for the past several years, we do not believe that the votes exist on Capitol Hill, and in particular within the US Senate, for us to be able to pass a full repeal of both of these laws. So the next best option, in order to cut a deal and get more money in your pockets, which is the goal of all of this, of course, is to continue working with Congressman Richard Neal, as well as his Republican counterpart, Congressman Kevin Brady from Texas, to cut a deal, a bipartisan deal, to get a bill not only through the House of Representatives, but also through the US Senate and onto the president's desk for him to sign into law, that we can provide some relief to those of you who have been harmed by the windfall elimination provision. Now, we detail all of that in the newsletter. There's a picture of Frank Valeri and myself meeting with Congressman Neal just a few weeks ago. And we had the opportunity to speak with him directly about this whole situation. But we walk you through all of the ins and outs of the various bills that are pending on Capitol Hill and some of the politics behind all of this. All of that's explained in the newsletter. So if you're someone who's impacted by the WEP and the GPO and you're concerned about this, the most up-to-date information is coming to you in a couple of weeks in the newsletter. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Nancy McGovern, who's going to talk about the reporting that we're doing here in Massachusetts on our legislative package that's now up on Beacon Hill at the State House. Nancy?
Thanks, Sean. As Sean mentioned, there's been quite a bit of a legislative activity over the last few months since we reported in the last November bulletin, both at the federal level with the legislation regarding WEP, as well as contact with our members of Congress around the Medicare Part B increase, which Bill is going to talk about a little bit later. At the state level, there's been 2 hearings since the November bulletin was in your hands, and it was the end of our last pieces of legislation in our legislative package, the COLA legislation, and then a couple of healthcare related bills as well. So we report on that in the bulletin, as well as our GIC spotlight bills. There's an article about the several pieces of legislation that we've done pertaining to the Group Insurance Commission as well, and included in this bulletin. I'm not sure. I think that's about all that's included in that update for January, and we'll have more information as we head into the new year and the legislation is exec out of committee and moves through the process. So.
Thank you, Nancy. And then once again, a major focus of the newsletter, and this has been an ongoing focus of ours for many years now, is on healthcare policy, particularly on retiree healthcare policy and on your insurance plans. Our last teletown hall just last month focused exclusively on the GIC's upcoming procurement process. We were joined by their executive director, Matt Vino. We had over 3,000 members on the line for nearly an hour and a half. It was, from our standpoint, a very productive time. But following through on that, we've done extensive reporting once again in this newsletter. We have 8 separate articles related in one way or another to your healthcare and your health insurance. And Bill, can you just walk our members through what those 8 articles are and what they can be looking for here?
Yeah, yes, I can, Sean. I don't know whether there was any showing of my phone ringing, and I want to apologize to the association member that I cut off. So I'll get back to you shortly. But yes, Sean wanted me to take a few minutes to talk about the articles that we have in the January bulletin involving healthcare. And it's obvious that healthcare, along with your pension, is a key component of your retirement, and it deserves the focus that we give it. So that's why in the January bulletin we have some 8 articles that deal with healthcare. Now, I guess I'm not going to get in the weeds on this, but it basically provides sort of like the old movie trailer as to what you can expect in the January bulletin. But it breaks down basically into articles that deal with local insurance, articles that deal with the state GIC insurance, and articles that deal with federal Medicare. And then there are those that go across the board in terms of dealing with all levels. Now, in connection with local insurance, we have basically 2 articles that deal with local insurance. One of them is an article that deals with the GIC and local participation in the GIC. There are 59 cities, towns, and authorities that right now participate in the GIC. And in addition to that, what we deal with on the local level is an article on that big subject that we've been following for some time now. What I'm talking about is the Medicare buy-in program. And we update the readers on communities and authorities, districts that are in fact going to implement the Medicare buy-in program this coming July. So we have the local. Now, what about the state and the GIC? We have on that, we have stories dealing with the GIC procurement process. Sean's already mentioned what's going on there with the GIC in terms of the plans being made to make the decisions regarding what plans are going to be offered come July 1 of 2023. So we have an update on that. And we also spotlight on the different bills that we've actually sponsored dealing with the GIC. One of the primary ones on that obviously goes back to what I just mentioned, Medicare buy-in. Yes, we have updates on the locals, but we also are still pushing for the GIC to enact or implement the Medicare buy-in program at the state level. The last level is the federal level. And we have a major piece on an issue that really came home to many of us out there, and in fact came home to me and to my wife, namely the unbelievable increase in the Medicare Part B premium that we just been told about. And we talk in there about our efforts to, in fact, get some relief from that tremendous increase in the Medicare Part B. I mean, we know, and I speak in terms of my wife too, we know about retirees out there, our members, who are not only being hit by this increase in the Medicare Part B, but also are already been hit by the windfall law that Sean talked about. So the fact is that we're going to continue to do what we can on getting some relief from the Medicare Part B issue, and that's what we address in the January bulletin. And then the last area was, I mentioned, were basically stories that go across the board, affect not only local, but also state and federal healthcare. And in that regard, we have a sequel basically to the article that you saw in our November bulletin, which dealt with specialty drugs. And we take a closer look at this issue. Why? Because in fact, Biogen, the large pharmaceutical manufacturer, has developed a drug for Alzheimer's disease, Aldohem. And we're looking at that because it dovetails into the fact that Medicare is using as part of the reason for the tremendous increase in the Part B premium, this new drug that they have to basically prepare for. So there's an article in the bulletin about the specialty drug, particularly this drug by Biogen. And we also have a closer look at this whole issue, this terrible disease, Alzheimer's disease. And then another story that we have in the current January bulletin that basically goes across all levels is a story that we did. It's an update basically on the IBIS program. I hope our members out there know about the IBIS program because we've been reporting on it since last year. And we think that this telehealth service is something that can be valuable to our members with certain chronic conditions. But the update is basically on some positive numbers, results that they've had, IBIS has had in Maine. They've been in Maine and offering their services up there earlier than they have here in Massachusetts, and therefore have been able to look back and see how they're doing. And there's a story on that. Again, I'm not here to get into details on each of the stories. You'll have to wait to get your issue of the January Voice. But this is some of the work, and we'll continue to do in future issues. So let me turn it back to you now, Sean.
Thanks, thanks, Bill. And as you can see, there's quite a bit to read and to digest over the 20 pages that make up our newsletter. The two additional points that many members may be interested in. As you know, each January we publish the mailing dates for the state and teacher pension checks, as well as the direct deposit dates. While the local retirement systems to some degree may vary from their specific dates that things are being deposited, more or less this can serve as a guide for all retirees of when you can expect to receive your pension payment. In addition, we've also published a great story written by Nancy that focuses on additional resources that can be available to help out some of our members or retirees in general who may be of need of a little bit of additional assistance, when it comes to heating their homes and things of that nature. So we thought that particularly now with inflation soaring, really no end in sight. I know that later today, the CPI through November will be published by the federal government. And it's expected that unfortunately, inflation will continue to rise for the coming months, which is putting an additional pressure on everyone, but in particular, those retirees who are living on very fixed income. So, once you read through this material or you get any information from us, if you have specific questions, we're here to help. We're here to answer those questions. Feel free to reach out to one of us. We're always available to you. If you can't reach us in the office, please go back to that membership card that you have. We want to be accessible to you, and we're here to provide those services to our members. So, do not hesitate to reach out to us if we can be of any assistance. But I want to thank Nancy and Bill for taking the time to come on camera with me today. We want to continue to do more of this. That it's not just me talking to you every Friday, but other members of our staff or potentially some special guests from time to time for folks that we work with that really are there to help you in your retirement. But with that, I'm going to sign off. We'll be back to you again next Friday with our final weekly update for 2021 before we go into a little bit of a Christmas break here. But thank you so much for your continued support and your membership with us. Take care, everybody.